Throughout my school years, I grew up into a life demanding loyalty and a misfit of untrustworthy peers. It became almost a natural selection as per the lifestyle and its way of eating people alive. Those who survived became a part of something that we had no name for. And it became less a number of people and more so a type of people. It truly began in the house of a madman, but as he lost his mind, we lost our home. And we began to take root in the very woods that we grew up in, and this is where the name found us. Being an outsider was more than throwing parties outside. No, it was letting nothing slow us down, even if that meant we survived under the stars. As numbers began to fluctuate, few stood the test of time, and only 2 truly remained constant in the life. But even the life itself in time began to change. As people, we grew distance from each other, but this was not the death of the outsiders, but rather the final test of its natural selection. Though we became some kind of suburban thugs, we began to realize that this was not who we were, but simply the youth of something much, much bigger. You see, the world around us in its turmoil is dividing into heaven and hell on earth. God's flock has found itself too long sheltered to handle the wolves that constantly grow, not just in numbers, but in immorality. And this is where the outsiders again found out who they truly were. Between a people that grew up too good to know how to fight and a nefarious uprising that grew up fighting. You see, we grew up in this devolution, but we were never a part of it. Outsiders made a point out of their name, setting themselves aside, apart from the common people. And though, at the time, it made us a new breed of freaks amongst a world that revolved around the bell schedule, it eventually made us what the real world truly needs. Just as we walked against the current of our upbringing, we also didn't quite fit in with God's flock. And it was more than the tattoos, piercings, and rough edges that stood us out. In the eyes of those who we are truly like at heart, we were just the same as our peers. This is the fate of the outsiders, never truly being a part of either side. Fighting against our own generation to stand up for God's will, yet unaccepted by the very people that we fight for, like vigilantes being smudged in the local paper. God bless.